Regé-Jean Page has risen to fame recently due to the new Netflix hit Bridgerton. He plays the role of Simon Bassett, the Duke of Hastings on the show. However, did you know he actually had to overcome some pretty major struggles while filming the show? Keep watching to find out what they are. The terrifying audition process. Did you know that Page almost didn't get the part of the Duke of Hastings? This was a role he had to fight for. He quite nearly lost the role to Jonathan Bailey. He really had to try hard to persuade the director that he had the talent and looks necessary to take on the role. Showrunner Shonda Rhimes loved Page for this particular part right off the bat and thought he was the perfect person to play the leading man. However, the director and some of the crew weren't as convinced. It may shock some fans to hear that initially the director, Julianne Robinson, didn't find Page to be as alluring as he needed to be, something that was obviously very important for this role. However, Page was determined to prove her otherwise, and he was successful. Looking back now, Robinson is surprised by her initial reaction to the actor. It's interesting about Rege. I hope he is not offended by this, but I never saw him in that way. I always saw him as a serious actor, very committed, a caring professional. And now look at him. I mean, goodness me, it's incredible. I hope he is the next James Bond, she said. Face the judgment of fans. The Duke of Hastings is a very important role in Bridgerton. The book series by Julia Quinn are very popular, have been around for decades, and are associated with a large fan base. As in the case, whenever a book is turned into a movie, dedicated fans often have an idea in their head of how they would expect the main characters to look. They picture their facial features a certain way and may have an opinion regarding the direction that a character takes on the show. Sometimes fans can be judgmental of actors if they are not who they pictured for the part. For example, Page is of mixed race, while the Duke of Hastings in the books was white. This cast decision didn't go over well with some of the fans, and Page had to deal with this overwhelming pressure. Of course, it is very difficult, if not impossible, to get every single detail right when turning a book into a movie. In the case of Bridgerton, the directors have decided to make some changes here and there when it comes to the characters in different scenes. It's likely that because some fans might not like these changes, that they will take their frustration out on the cast, and in particular Page, who plays one of the primary roles. Page has dealt with this kind of pressure from fans by reminding himself about the reasons he got into acting and striving to do his best during every performance. I think the goals are always the same, career and otherwise. I try to keep it simple and center everything on empathy and compassion because that's why I got into acting, he said. The intense intimacy training. Fans of the show know that there are some very steamy bedroom scenes featuring Paige and Daphne, who is played by Phoebe Dynevor. There is no questioning that filming these types of scenes is already pretty uncomfortable for everyone involved, especially since Paige and Dynevor are not together romantically in real life. To make matters even more awkward, there is a large filming crew surrounding the pair during the whole time watching them. Both Paige and Dynevor had to try to be comfortable in very little clothing while pressed up against one another. Paige and Dynevor didn't just show up to set one day and film these steamy scenes. They had to spend hours upon hours going through grueling training for them. There was lots and lots of intense practice to ensure these scenes were as realistic and steamy as possible. The actors even had to spend hours working with an intimacy director so that they could understand the way she wanted the scenes to go. Even after the challenging training, they had to repeat the uncomfortable scenes time and time again until it was exactly what the director wanted. A factor that added to Page's discomfort is that his entire family watches the show and have to see him in these awkward scenes. He uses a group chat message to alert his family of what episodes they would probably not feel comfortable watching so that they can avoid those. One of his cousin's preferred methods is to run out of the room whenever she sees one of these scenes starting up. She then makes herself a cup of tea, and by the time she returns, they're usually over. One other factor that contributed to the difficulty of these scenes was the furniture, which the director wanted to be as historically accurate as possible. These scenes were filmed on tiny beds with very little room to roll around. Page's height made this even more of a challenge. While focusing on acting, he also had to focus on not accidentally falling out of the bed. Both Page and Dynevor knew exactly what they were getting into when they agreed to take part in this show, so even if they felt uncomfortable at the time, it's not obvious to the viewers. The pair clearly gave these scenes their all and pulled them off completely. The harshness of Regency life. The show is set long ago, in 1813 Regency, England. It was very important for the director of Bridgerton that the characters' costumes be as historically accurate as possible. While not every detail is perfect, the costume team works hard to ensure that the actors are dressed in the same sort of clothing that they would have been back then. It will likely come to no fan's surprise that the costumes the actors must wear are not exactly comfortable and cozy. While it is certainly more challenging for the women actors who must wear long dresses and uncomfortably tight corsets, the men don't necessarily have it easy either. The Duke of Hastings is a man of very high class, so Page is consistently dressed up. He is typically seen in a button-up dress shirt with a high collar that wraps around his neck. He accompanies this with a long-collared dress shirt or an elaborate suit. He often wears dark, tight dress pants and accessorizes with leather gloves and matching boots. While he doesn't complain about the wardrobe he has to agree to wear, Page doesn't deny that it is uncomfortable. This is because he recognizes the fact that the costumes are meticulously designed and used to help convey the status and personality of the character. I would say that it's also about very, very tight costumes, both physically and metaphorically, he said in an interview. But it's such an important part of becoming the Duke that Regé just had to put up and shut up. After all, he's an actor, and sacrifices have to be made, no matter how hard it is. The physical preparation almost broke him. The Duke of Hastings is portrayed to be an individual that is incredibly strong and physically fit. He exudes power and sophistication. While Page already had a very good physique himself before taking the part, he had to kick things up a notch in the gym to get into the best shape possible. Due to the frequent bedroom scenes in which he appears without a shirt on, Page had to endure vigorous workouts to get defined abs and be perfectly camera ready. Of course, with the already long days of filming, Page had to work hard to fit in the proper amount of exercise. For him, this meant sacrificing sleep and waking up extra early to get his training in. Page opened up about this grueling schedule in a recent press conference. "There's a lot of physical activity involved, so I was on the full Rocky regime for it. I was up at 5 a.m. every day, going to the gym, meeting my trainer," he began. Regardless of Page's celebrity status, his trainer did not go easy on him whatsoever. The actor had to adjust to being screamed at every single day in the very early morning. But the more he pushed himself, the more rewarding the workouts were for him, and the more confident he became in himself. "He was horrible to me for an hour and a half every morning before the day started. I got my strength up just from surviving him. Luckily, the pretentious actor in me could justify that because I always start building a character from what their physical language is. But you are also serving the audience in a genre that is about fantasy and glamour," he said. Luckily for him, Page actually got a lot of physical exercise while he was filming as well. He is frequently spotted boxing, which is a great way to burn calories. Prior to the show, Page was not familiar with boxing, so he had to be properly trained in the sport. This involved a lot of hours working with trained professionals to help him learn different moves. While this was a challenge, he found pride in the end result. Of course, exercise is only one aspect of maintaining Page's stunning, fit physique. The other part is diet. The actor follows a very strict diet plan and very rarely cheats. His diet consists of primarily natural foods like fish, vegetables, salads, and plenty of quality protein. He also has a list of things he strives to avoid as much as possible, including refined sugar, junk food, artificial ingredients, processed foods, hydrogenated fats, and chemical additives. With a schedule as intense and jam-packed as Page, between acting, working out, and balancing other responsibilities, caffeine is a must. He relies on coffee to keep himself going throughout the day and give him the energy he desperately needs. "I'm a bean of caffeine when I work," he explained. "It is a vice, but as far as vices go, I'll take it." "We had a very, very nice coffee van that had very, very friendly people in it. It was my escape spot at every given moment of the day," he further added. Interestingly enough, he's not the only cast member who needs their caffeine. Dynevor is also frequently sipping coffee in between scenes. She previously mentioned that she is grateful that neither one of them mind the smell of caffeine, especially in the more intimate scenes. "We both drink a lot of coffee, so sometimes we both smell like that, which was fine," said Dynevor. "He's unscented in a good way." So what do you think of all the challenges that Page has gone through so far to become the Duke? Was it all worth it to one day take on the major role of the Duke of Hastings in Bridgerton? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.